And we've started recording. Okay, welcome everyone to the 2023 New Media Writing Prize Awards. I am delighted to see so many folks here. And to indeed have received so many entries from so many places around the world this year. I think I was in the midst of tabulating up all the different countries from which we received entries, and some of them were countries that I had to go and look up on a map. I'm American. We're not known for our geography skills. And just all over the world submitting things, and all ages as well, and from all kinds of different backgrounds and artistic approaches. So it's just been an absolute wonder to run the prize this year. And you will be relieved to know that any stumbles in the prize this year were entirely mine. This was my first year running it solo, as it were, although it was not at all solo. I had a great deal of help from our wonderful webmaster, Andy Campbell, to our amazing panel of judges, Jim Pope, who has continued to be my advisor, he ran the prize. This was his baby for 12 years. Are we in our 13th year? Yes, I think 12 years. Amazing help from Lisa G at Birmingham University, support from Bournemouth University, support from FIPP Media, Writing Magazine, my own little pocket of Wonderbox Digital, and the wider support of the electronic literature, digital media, new media writing community. We launched this year for the very first time an unconference, which this is our closing event for the last 2 days of the unconference, which we held entirely online over Zoom, Discord, Miro, Twitter, Mastodon, in some VR spaces, and various other sundry. YouTube was involved, Google Docs and board.net, and all kinds of collaborative spaces and creative spaces, as we did all kinds of things to think about how we can use digital literature and the things that we do with new media writing for the purposes of social good. That was the aim and theme of the conference. We will be, everything that we have done in the conference, we are working to make that publicly available as much as possible, wherever I can. I will be putting the videos of the different sessions up on the New Media Writing Prize YouTube channel. Yes, we do now have a New Media Writing Prize YouTube channel. Right now, the only thing on it is the awards evening from last year, but it will soon become overpopulated with unconference goings on. And the thing that I'm most delighted about the unconference is that it is going, not only was it an event that I thoroughly enjoyed, which, let's face it, that's all that really matters. As long as I enjoyed myself, it was all worth it. I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well. But what it is enabling us to do is to expand the New Media Writing Prize a little bit. Because the unconference was an official conference, and so we did collect conference fees, which will all go back into the New Media Writing Prize. Absolutely all of it will go back, apart from the, you paid your ELO membership fees, but all of the conference fees will go back into the New Media Writing Prize, which means that I am introducing a new category for future years, which will be digital literature for social good. So we'll have a new category, a new prize next year, which wants to recognize these works of artistic passion from us, on topics such as educating people about climate change, on bringing different media to people with different disabilities, working to build more encapsulated and immersive communities, bringing indigenous knowledge to the rest of the world through new media. These are just some of the wonderful projects that we've been able to see and that we hope to be able to award and highlight in the coming years. So that is the official announcement, and that is brought to you by all of the wonderful participants of the New Media Writing Prize Unconference, and hopefully that will become an annual event and continue to grow. So thank you all for your contributions there. I do want now to introduce our keynote. Deena Larsen is our keynote for the Unconference and is doing double duty as a wonderful featured talk here at the awards evening. And if you are not familiar with Deena Larsen and her work, how could you not be? You need to go and find it right now. It's an amazing body of work. As she notes, when she and the other ELIT creators got together back in the day, there were 8 of them, I think she said to me yesterday. And so she's part of the foundation, but also part of the hearth, I will say, of electronic literature and new media writing, because so much warmth and welcome comes from Deena Larsen. Her works Marble Springs, Marble Springs is one of the foundational pieces of electronic literature, and she has kept it current, and so it is still available. It is continually available to peruse and read and enjoy and share. So I think it's version 2 that we're in, which is HTML compatible, 3, which is HTML compatible, so not restricted to a proprietary software, and hopefully HTML will continue to resist obsolescence for a while to come. But I am going to graciously bow out and turn it over to Deena for her keynote presentation, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Deena, it's all yours.
Oh, I'm still on mute. Thank you very much. In the tradition of these conferences, I was still on mute, and now I do not have the chat available, but I can share the Marble Springs at the end. And are you guys, which screen are you seeing? Are you seeing a screen?
We're still seeing
a screen.
Gallery view.
Does this work?
Starting to share. Yes, there we go.
And you should be seeing the whole screen. And now I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes, and then we'll have about 15 minutes for interactions. So I hope that in the chat, you see the links to the accessible version for this chat, as well as the questions that I'd like to ask after I get to blather on for a few minutes. So do you see all that? Are we good? If not, Lyle or Hannah, can you drop that in? Because I don't see the chat anymore.
I will drop the links in.
Okay, and it's going to be a pretty active chat. So if you're listening to the chat along with the presentation, feel free to turn off that chat. So as Lyle kindly introduced me, this is Something Wicked This Way Comes. So welcome to the keynote for our Social Good Unconference. And I want us to imagine for a moment, you are 16, homeless. You've just escaped out of Children's Hospital with crutches and a cast from mid-thigh to mid-calf, from knee surgery, from a bone disease. And now the social worker told you the foster system's broken. You're homeless and there are no beds for you. You could go to juvenile detention, but you know what happens there. So you choose to leave the hospital on your own. Well, in this part of the game, you're going to have to figure out how to get food and shelter. Then the next level is to apply for college, Medicaid, even more. You don't have an address. Okay, these are a lot of complex system problems that you've got right now. Your first problem is to cross an icy parking lot to get to a cafe where you can afford a single cup of coffee, to be in a warm place, to think about these urgent issues. Well, this was me in high school, and my head at the time was whirling with the overwhelming complex system thinking I was doing as I walked across that parking lot, car handle after car handle. But then in the cafe, a waitress gave me dinner, let me use her address. She even knew of a pastor who kept some sheds in the backyard, each with a bed and a lock. This solution focus really it made it possible for me to live my life and to face these complex issues. In this keynote, I want us to explore. I want you to think right now about the times that you've been overwhelmed. Maybe you glanced at the news today. We've got healthcare problems in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of rising COVID, and nurses are being paid so little, they're opening up food banks for medical people in the hospitals. Wow. You can think of your own complex issues. I know you can. So let's explore them for a minute. Planners have a special term for these complex problems. They're literally called wicked. And I want to go into what these complex problems are and how they work, how they're connected, because we, as digital literature readers and writers, we are amazingly wicked at complex system thinking. And with that, we know how to make these connections. So I want to ask how our wicked skills can help communicate these wicked problems. Because the world is full of them, and our own experiences are going to color our complex system thinking, how we weave through this maze. Of course, the big guy on the horizon is climate change. That is the massive, wicked problem facing us all. Let me just go through one chain of connections within this one complex problem. I was homeless. So now, with climate change, there are extreme storms, extreme floods, less resources. So people are being displaced. They have to migrate. And that lack of resources causes war, causes extremism. I know how that feels. I know the deep terror in the pit of your stomach when you don't have a place to sleep that night. You still have to survive. Okay. I was disabled. I couldn't get across that icy parking lot. How the hell am I going to evacuate from an extreme storm? Are we leaving our most precious people behind us? I think we might be. Then, of course, with the disability, there's healthcare. All the complex problems there, including access. But that is also being exacerbated by climate change and globalization through the pandemics, as we've all seen in the last few years, where viruses, mosquitoes, others have a more optimal chance of surviving in these areas. Oh my God, what we need is education. We got to figure out smart people to deal with all this complex stuff. But how do you do that when you're homeless, you're displaced, you're disabled? We don't know. Let me take another tack for a minute, because spoiler alert, I did survive being homeless, and I got a job for 30 years as a technical writer in the Bureau of Reclamation. That is the federal agency in the US in charge of water in the Western United States. little tiny thing called Hoover Dam. Yeah, that was us. And basically, what I had to do was write about complex issues and talk to a wide variety of people. Yeah, water itself is complex. Let me give you a quick example. If you're going to provide hydropower flows from a dam, that's going to affect the timing of those flows, which affects your fish. But if you supply the fish flows in the right timing, you might mess up the flows and the water you need for agriculture. Well, there is a real reason why in the Western United States, whiskey's for drinking, water is for fighting. Add on climate change to all of that. How do you ensure stable water supplies in the midst of those extreme floods, those extreme droughts? But I gotta tell you, the most complex problem of all was how to communicate these connections, how to talk about these diverse issues and complex issues with audiences with conflicting agendas. Communication was key. Of course, there's a lot more: artificial intelligence, inequality, politics, things that we've been talking about throughout this conference. We need to say it's overwhelming. We need to acknowledge that. Every problem generates the constellation of other problems, and your mind right now, it's going a million miles a minute as you're engaging in your own complex system thinking about the problems that have touched your life. But let's all go back for just a second to that icy parking lot. We have to take those first steps. We have to keep these issues in the back of our minds. How the hell do we do that? Well, as a first step, let's look at what these complex problems are. Wicked is, as I said, a specific term. It's jargon in the planning community. It is the opposite of tame. It is not easy to understand. It is not linear. Oh no. Here, wicked problems are the ones with many causes, many symptoms, many solutions, many interventions, many readings, many interpretations. And wicked problems need an interconnected community to communicate about them and to solve them, to have a solution-focused thinking. So we're going to need ways to go from that overwhelming complexity to a focused solution. We need ways to explain these things. Wow. Well, let's think about wicked in another way for a moment. And of course, I'm going to use that time-honored tradition of acrostics, acronyms. So bear with me. But wicked is worthwhile. These are things we've got to address as a community, as a nation, as a world, or we're not going to have a world much longer. They're deeply intertwined, as Ted Nelson says. They've got tendrils throughout the problem and beyond into other problems, as we've seen. And as we've seen, they're complex. Connections, causes, solutions. So you gotta know what's going on. You gotta know how something is affected by something else and try to see the whole. More than that, we have to engage everyone who's affected. In the disability community, there's a slogan: nothing about us without us. And as we've seen in this conference with the bias discussions and with everything else, this term needs to be expanded to every community, to minorities, to women, all of the bases that we've seen. More than that, we're going to need the people who can help, the people who are working in these issues. Most importantly, though, we must have the people who can communicate about these complex issues. These problems are deep. They extend from seconds to centuries, from a tiny little place, your neighborhood, to the world. We have to interact on all of these levels. But there's hope, because guess what, guys? Digital literature is also wicked. Yeah, we are excellent. We are worthwhile because the works we use, they take time, they take energy, and we spend that time giving worthwhile messages. They are deeply intertwined. We show all of those connections. They are complex. With a simpler interface, we find ways not to scare people off. We find ways to bring people in. They are even knowledge building. Showing all of these types of connections and the structure lets readers and authors explore new connections between ideas. And they're engaging. As we've seen, we can go from a simple 5-minute read to a deep PhD read on the same work. And they're deep. They go into multiple levels. So let's take these skills as digital literature writers, readers, lovers. We got skills. We have the unique power to communicate these complex issues, to go from this complex system thinking to solution-focused thinking. We know how to do this because we do this all the time. We know how to imagine our readers coming from many different directions, many different agendas. We know what it's like to create something unique that's never been seen before, and how to explore these works. We know how to show these connections, how to be interactive with our readers, invite the readers to think along with us. We know how to welcome our readers in and show why this matters emotionally to the gut. We know how to work with unknown pathways, with multiple endings. We can do this. I know, it's overwhelming. I get it. But please don't be so overwhelmed. Just like when you start to read or write a digital literature piece, it's step by step. And there's a key here. Do the work that only you can do. Take that first step across that icy parking lot because you can. Use your digital literature skills to address these wicked, complex problems. Stop looking at the whole mess. Go from complex system thinking to solution-focused thinking. Think about what you can do. Some project you really care about. Get to your computer and write about it. Because when the wicked act together, we can change the world. We can make a difference. For example, we can promote existing works. Many of the works that we're celebrating today, right now in this award ceremony, the works from the New Media Prize, as well as the works from the Electronic Literature Collection, social media, on and on and on. We're already doing this work. We are skating on that icy parking lot. We are engaging our readers. We're communicating, talking about these issues. We can communicate this. We can get more readers for these existing works. Moreover, we can create new works. We can collaborate with each other. We can figure out what's needed. And we can partner with others, organizations, governments who have a complex message that they need to get out to people. We can help them do that. So where we come together is important. And I know you're busy. We all have too much to do. We've all got that icy parking lot in front of us, but we can get there. Because climate change is already here. It's a catastrophe. ignoring all of these situations, that's not going to work. The most important thing you can do for wicked problems is to write about them wickedly. So whatever you do, be wicked. Yeah. Now, for the rest of the time that I have, and I put it in the chat, I want to have a bit of a conversation because this is an unconference and we need to be able to talk about this stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing and put my questions back into the chat and see what you guys think about this. How can we be wicked? Put in the chat, talk, what are works that you love that address these issues? We can list them. How do we promote these? How do we share these grant opportunities and opportunities to collaborate with each other and with organizations? More than that, how are we going to judge our successes in communicating? That's a lot. Okay, let's talk. And I'll get the chat back up somehow. Let's see if I can get the chat. Oh, I've got the full transcript. I am on. Come on, guys. Oh, there's the chat. Thank you. Okay. Let me go back up through the chat and repost those questions. Thank you. Oop.
Thank you so much for that, Deena. And yeah, I would love to talk to sort of continue the conversation, and as soon as you get your questions posted. I see a comment in the chat that says it's from pardon my pronunciation, Joannes. Feels like the structure of a wiki is pretty good for understanding how knowledge in different domains is connected. Something to do with a Wikipedia. I like it.
Actually, funny you should mention that, and I will put this up. This is not ready for prime time yet, but I am creating a book on this exact topic. And by the way, this is where our exhibits were. So you see in there, I've got a start at this, and we do have other starts at wikis, but that would be way cool to do. So here's the exhibit space.
Which was indeed on a wiki. So
of course it's on a wiki. Yes, this will be really good. And we have something from Alan. This is something that the mill bloggers would agree with on the other side of things, and national hacking groups. We may have to do some hacking here.
Well, I just mean there's an ideological, a whole set of ideological issues about this. Like, we can all agree on climate change, but how are we going to get food to people who are starving in Sudan, for example, or where there's military groups that are working, say, in Myanmar? You know, the problems seem overwhelming because these groups also have their own tendrils and their own sort of interlocked ways of thinking about things, and wicked in a more literal sense. What kind of practical politics can you see evolving from this, what we're doing here, and trying to deal with things on a global, or even, say, in our cases, maybe a state level, to really start to change things?
I honestly think the first thing to do is to raise that awareness. Yes, there is a lot of awareness now with climate change. Yes, attitudes are changing, but talking about it, as Catherine Hayhoe says, is the most important thing we can do. And getting people aware of the connections between issues. The biases that we saw in AI, those are connected to social inequality, which is again connected, by the way, to climate change, because guess who's getting hurt in climate change? When we have those biases and they're embedded in our emergency systems, People don't get evacuated.
But when you look at the 60s, for example, I'm sorry to bring this up because it's a sore point, obviously, and you look at the whole Earth catalog and the people all associated with that and associated with Stuart Brand and associated with the Club of Rome report or the towards the year 2000 report that Carter put out, there was all of this kind of connectivity. And it seemed to fall flat because it wasn't leveraged, even though some of it was national. So there has to be a practical politics, and that's where I think people get overwhelmed today. You look at the abortion issue, and oh my God, the right wing is so organized and so tendril-like. You know, it's like they've got they're around us.
They are, and I think it's more than that. It's connective storytelling. And that's what we're celebrating right now with the New Media Prize. That's what we're celebrating today. I was so thrilled when I went on the New Media Prize archives. There's, Lyle, you're going to have to tell me if I'm wrong, but it looked like at least 100 works, which
There's
is
a lot.
amazing. How many?
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
and there's probably more than that.
Yeah. And so many dealt with climate. And other social issues that we've seen here. Having that storytelling ability that our group has, and just asking folks to use that to bring awareness to these issues and to bring awareness to the connections between the issues. But what are some of the works that you guys have loved? I mean, if you put them in the chat, that would be great. And we need more exposure to them. I don't have it up, but I love Climate Glossary. I mean, I'm sorry, Creatures Glossary. See, I'm going to get it wrong. Tired. By Amira Hanafi. I love that work. I put a few in the wiki, but what are works that you guys go to? What have you seen? What have you read? I can put the 4 up that I know of. Well, come on, I see we've got Will's here. Oh, thank you. Yes.
Siobhan has posted in the chat. I wonder if Mark Terry's work on / with global youth filmmakers on the climate crisis might be relevant. Quoting the Youth Climate Report showcases more than 525 videos from youth filmmakers geolocated on an interactive map, providing policymakers with a wealth of visible evidence of climate research, impacts, and solutions from around the world in one easily accessible digital space. Mez comments that this is a picture of wind by J.R. Carpenter, which again was a winner in the New Media Writing Prize. So you can find a link to that on the archive, and I will also post a link here as soon as I'm done blabbing, which is a wonderful work.
On mute. But yeah, going back to those 525 videos, suppose John Murray or another VR person put those all together in a VR world where people could experience them on those types of stages that we saw. That would be amazing. Just something as simple as that. Let's work with what's out there as well. It's an excellent point. Yeah. What other issues can we address as a community? Where can our special connectivity, complexity come into things? From our own experiences, from being homeless. I know Sean's looked at like the hospitals. It's a lot of different experiences that we have as a group. You don't have to say it out loud. It's okay, but what can you do?
Is there any way we could be in touch with people on the ground in Ukraine, for example, which is obviously a global hotspot at the moment?
And telling those stories.
Good question.
I don't have those answers, but yeah, it's something to definitely look into. And Layla says, I think that when we talk about these larger issues, we think that our actions have to be global. And the communities that she's in, the works are very small, but very impactful. Yeah, exactly. We saw from Nancy, who has a piece, the mystery of dandelions, that's just in her Port Townsend. So yeah, these can be on all of those levels. They're very deep. They're from a neighborhood to a nation. And it is to tell local stories for a local audience. You've got it, Layla. Exactly, that's exactly right. And Jim Pope pulls in with The Underbelly from Christine Wilkes. Yeah, if you could put that link in here, we can get it. We can get all these links onto our exhibit, onto our Miro. Oh, and the Under the Surface is in Ukraine and would love to work on more projects. Elliot, that's terrific. Can you guys, Ellen and Elian, can you exchange email addresses, please? You know, private chat here. That's what this is about, is collaboration. And Lyle, do I have 2 minutes or 10? How am I doing on time?
Two, I believe,
2
but
minutes.
as I
Okay,
said,
no worries.
we're flexible.
And I do want to, and I will put this in the chat as the next ELO Salon is going to be, I believe, on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And that was where I figured we could keep this up. And that chat would pretty much be, again, the wicked communication for wicked problems. And basically I can put that Zoom up, but if you send me your email address, even on the chat or just direct message, I'll put mine in here as well. I can put you on the list for those announcements, which would be lovely. So I'm going to do it. I really need to change my email address, but I've got it, DeenaForcedToUse@gmail.com.
It's a small sign of resistance against the big five.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deena. I think that even just having this as part of, and Mez has posted a link to her work, which is a place called Ormalcy, which is a wonderful piece that is devoted to social issues and political formation. And I agree, it's not just about sort of the global issues. I've seen a number of really lovely works of new media communicating Indigenous knowledge and reconnecting people to environments and communities that you know, where Indigenous knowledge was precluded from the sort of westernized imperialistic knowledge structures of books and publications and universities, and so they're sort of getting around that that imperialistic exclusion by going through new media and locative media and social media. And so we're and it's connecting, you know, there's definitely ways that Indigenous knowledge is more in tune with the local environment, and with lots of wisdom to give us about more sustainable living. And so that's one of my favorite examples of both local community building as well as global climate change knowledge. So thinking about these sorts of things is really important, and I'm really glad that you chose to focus on that for your talk, because I think you know, it helps us to raise that awareness. Again, it's just another instance of how we are all participating in the conversation.
Has anybody worked?
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
I just wondered if anybody's participated in live action role playing. They're doing that over at Furtherfield, and that seemed to be proceeding with good results. Who's the woman? Ruth Catlow from Furtherfield was doing that. And Further Field is also very much in tune with what you're doing, and they work out of Finsbury Park in North London, and they're actually organizing neighborhoods, kind of like skeins groups there. So that's very resonant with what you're talking about here.
Brilliant. Thank you. Please continue posting suggestions and links and everything else in the chat. We have been collecting all of these and putting them into the Miro board for the unconference, which we will share. It is public, and I'll put the link in again. But I'm going to say thank you to Deena for her amazing and inspiring and interesting and warm and thoughtful keynote talk. Thank you so much. Nice round of applause. Yes. All right, brilliant. Next, I am going to turn over to Joannes. Joannes, you want me to share my screen of works? Yes.
Are we doing the shortlist for the main prize, or?
No, we are going over to your talk. That's right. Apologies.
Okay,
I
okay.
ahead in the agenda. So it's all over to you at this point. Joannes is the lovely winner of last year's New Media Writing Main Prize with the Omnipedia on Neurocracy. And I enjoyed that the publicity department at Bournemouth, when I sort of forwarded them the links to promote who had won, they thought that it was a real Wikipedia of some sort, and they wanted me to send them the actual work instead of the Wikipedia about the work. And it took a minute for them to understand that this sort of faux Wikipedia was you could do a deep dive into this document and seek out the mystery therein. So I really enjoyed that it had those different levels of engagement with folk. So welcome to Joannes, and thank you very much for being here. And I will turn it over to you now.
Well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Lyle, and knowing that Neurocracy even finds success that way in fooling people. And as you mentioned, Neurocracy won the New Media Writing Prize last year, which still blows my mind when I think about it. And that's why I have the pleasure of talking to you all now, because coming off that win, I was graciously asked to be part of the judging panel for this year's submissions for the main prize, and to natter a bit about what I took away from that process. And very much going over this year's long list has been a genuine privilege and a delight for exposing me to such a broad and deep selection of amazing and innovative and affecting works. The sheer diversity on display, projects that transcend genres even while reinventing them, that push at the edges of established, often calcified media formats and platforms. Truly, my love and appreciation go out to everyone who submitted, who was shortlisted, longlisted, everyone who contributed to the creative chaos of the unconference, and everyone out there who is noodling ideas, who is executing on them in novel ways, making things because they have something to say, something to share, and something they want to put out into the world. Really, thank you all so much for what you do. So as Lyle mentioned, the project that I submitted last year was Neurocracy, and the elevator pitch for that is, what if you could browse the Wikipedia of the year 2049 and use that information to solve a murder? And as I mentioned during my acceptance speech, such as it was, winning the New Media Writing Prize for Neurocracy was an enormously heartwarming validation of the project, precisely because it was difficult to slot it into a specific genre or medium. Because broadly speaking, Neurocracy holds the middle between a game and a novel, and more specifically, it borrows elements from alternate reality games, hypertext fiction, epistolary novels, murder mysteries, ergodic literature, and blends these elements into something more than just their sum. So what I'm going to do for this talk is briefly elaborate on Neurocracy and the path I took to make it, and then explain why I'm so delighted with this year's selection for the New Media Writing Prize. I came to interactive fiction mostly through video games. I played a lot of first-person shooters and RPGs, but no matter the game I was playing, I would always pay special attention to their stories, how they were told, how it's not just the words on the screen, but how every aspect of the medium can be a delivery mechanism for story. In the words of Neurocracy contributor Lee Alexander, everything is storytelling, everything is narrative design. I tend to gravitate towards science fiction, mostly because my dad force-fed me a lot of science fiction books and movies as I was growing up. Eventually, I started putting together my own sci-fi story worlds, which I first failed to make into a video game, and then failed to make into a novel. All the while, I was putting together a lore Bible, collating all the world-building details of this near-future setting and formatting it to resemble a wiki. I found that world building was the part of writing that I enjoyed the most. Then I fell backwards into the world of interactive fiction when I got the idea to let this lore Bible itself be the medium for the story that I was trying to tell. A Wikipedia from the future that people would browse to piece together the story for themselves. I remember vividly how this idea hit me right as I was going to sleep, because I ended up staring holes into the ceiling for hours as I turned over all the implications of this idea in my head. Everything that Neurocracy eventually became emerged from that decision to adopt Wikipedia as a medium. And that includes Neurocracy's episodic release, which enabled a community of players to crowdsource theories and ideas between episodes that I could then incorporate back into the story world. This resulted in a feedback loop between developers and players as we built the world of Neurocracy together in dialogue with each other. I didn't know what that interactivity would look like until it was happening, until it became the fulcrum on which all of Neurocracy would turn. That generous dedication from the community was and continues to be the lifeblood of Neurocracy, a truly digital mix of authorial intent and audience involvement. Before I was compelled to self-publish it, I did pitch Neurocracy to various publishers and funds, all of which passed on it because it was deemed too risky, an unproven experimental concept with no precedent for how to position it or where to find an audience for it. Ultimately, I do think this was the best outcome, as it allowed me to create Neurocracy not the way I or some third party wanted to, but the way it wanted to be created. And that may sound a little romantic, but I like to think that Neurocracy is uncompromising in how it wholly commits to its premise. It is unapologetically shaped like itself. And that is the common thread I picked out from the diverse range of projects that I have been so fortunate to experience in the judging process for this year's New Media Writing Prize. To prepare for this talk, I revisited last year's words from Dan Hett, who was the main prize winner the year before me and who delivered this talk before I did. He waxed lyrical about accessible, open source tools for creativity like Twine and Ink, tools that don't require a programming or technical background, but that enable people to create something immediately, and more importantly, to share it with others. To echo Dan's words, we're in a golden age of creativity. And I mention this because I am noticing a worrying trend, a trend that seeks to stifle creatives. And I'm talking here about a series of ongoing attempts to, in a sense, automate creativity by using AI art and language generators. And for the sake of context, AI has become a wildly misapplied term, more a marketing buzzword like metaverse or Web3. So in this talk, I use AI as a shorthand to refer to generative machine learning models that are emerging now, like Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, ChatGPT, DALL-E, and others. And it may very well be that this trend of AI automation of creativity is less a harbinger of things to come and more a bubble that will soon burst, a mere flash in the pan. I'm certain that AI will never truly replace creativity, but the way it's being deployed right now is certain to cause yet more precarious circumstances for creatives. It contributes to a crushing, risk-averse conservatism that rejects original ideas in favor of remixing what came before. That is exactly what AI is doing. That's all it can do. It can only regurgitate what we feed into it. There's an argument to be made that all of art is remixing what came before, but the difference here is the intent behind it. There's a parallel to be drawn between all these tech bros using AI to automate creativity and a wave of anti-intellectualism which goes hand in hand with the revival of fascism, considering how much overlap there is between these tech bros and fascism. Just look at Elon Musk and what he is doing to Twitter, a platform that many creatives I know use for networking, outreach, and community, and we are all sad to see it go. Fascists hate creatives who embody an actual independence of thought and a sense of questioning that they find terribly inconvenient for their plans. They want to automate artists so media is bland, easily consumable, and makes no statements. They want to automate journalists so the news no longer criticizes, digs deeper, or exposes truth. Tech bros don't create, they can only disrupt. All they see is undifferentiated content, training data that they can steal without the knowledge or consent of its authors. Even the work of deceased artists is fair game to them. Art is about seeing the unique visions, ideas, and creations of other humans. And the works, long and shortlisted for the New Media Writing Prize, make you see through the eyes of other people. They expand your horizon. They foster empathy, all of which is so important in a world that wants to isolate and divide us. So I say to you, create the thing you want to experience for yourself and you will find an audience for it. As Deena said, do the work only you can do. Make it so weird and unique that AI doesn't know what to do with it. That is what I want to see and did indeed see in this competition. Narrative experiments taking creative risks, held together with duct tape and baling wire that show the creator's heart. And I will end on a quote from the brilliant game designer Natalie Lawhead, a quote that I feel applies beyond games. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I am not kidding. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Joannes. And
Fantastic.
absolutely, I love that quote from Natalie Lawhead.
Me too. It's one of my favorite quotes, and I'm so happy I could include it.
Absolutely. We actually talked about Natalie Lawhead earlier in the unconference and her everything is going to be okay. It's just it's that epitome of something that is just unpredictable and unfathomable and yet so intimate and kitty and sorry, I can't resist. So thank you so much for that. And it was I think a call to arms for a lot of us.
I'm so happy you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for helping us judge the competition this year. We had so many entries, and I don't even have the numbers in front of me. There was I just know that it was a lot. I mean, I was constantly putting new entries up onto the forums, and we had a great field for the student prize, for the journalism prize, that I actually felt like I was overwhelming our judges. So it's brilliant to hear Joannes talk about how much he got out of reviewing these works and having a look at them. And I know that from judging occasionally myself that it is definitely one of my favorite things to do. It is just brilliant to see the wide range of creativity and the things that people come up with. It's just, and things that you're like, oh, I wish I had made that. Like, I feel that way about Neurocracy. I wish I had made that. I feel that way about everything is going to be okay. I wish I had made that. And so it's delightful to be able to share it. So thank you for our speakers for contributing, and I'm going to move on into the the dessert of our conference, our unconference, and of our indeed awards evening. We are first going to move to the Writing Magazine Student Award. I believe I'm going to give you a bit of a short list. Our judges for this segment for this category had quite a short list, and there was a lot of discussion that went on about the variety of works that were submitted and the ages. We had our youngest contributor this year in the overall competition was but 11 years old. So a shout out to Shashwath Venkatraman, who was the author of Unknown, who is indeed 11 years old and submitted a lovely piece of, hiya, it's good to see you, I'm glad you're here. So it was great to see work submitted from kids who are super excited to work in new media and work with these tools and create some interactive stuff. Shashwath created their work in Google Docs, and there were choices to be made and images to pick through and directions to go. So I look forward to seeing what a lot of these students create in the future. And I'm going to rather messily share my screen. I have so many tabs open looking at all these different works and with all the different shortlists. So please bear with me as I give you a little preview of the works in the student category. And of course, Zoom is going to cover up everything for me. This is indeed one of, let's see, let's go. You see the inner workings of my wee brain. So this is the student category, the shortlist for our student prize. And we have some videos from all but one, which is I would have liked the Stillness of the Night from Michaela Gubay, who I do think is here this evening, so welcome. And we're going to attempt to see a few videos, and let the, except for I have to enable audio. There we go. Okay. So I will show you a segment of this just to introduce each work to you and the...
Яны прыйшлі, яны зруйнавалі наша жыццё, забралі майго мужа, тут зрабілі ўсё кругом, значыць, да гары дрыгам. Ну, уцякаць это пэўным сэнсе, там, пэўным чынам прызнаць віну. А тут ясна, што ніхто не вінаваты. І мой Андрэй ні ў чым не вінаваты.
So you're not seeing this in its English translation, but you can at least see some of the visuals and the atmosphere of the work and see some of the...
Не собираешься ли ты уезжать из Беларуси?
Ни в коем случае, это принципиальная позиция.
So that's the work of Hanna Klimovich and Maria Klimovich, and you can see more of this on the New Media Writing Prize website. You can watch the full video. A brief video from Eliane on Under the Surface.
You are the void I so desperately long for. Oppressive silence, insufferable sound. There's a feeling of some presence I can't wrap my arms around. There's the sound of all we never said, the secrets falling still. All the things I wish wish I told you, and I guess now I never will.
I love the sort of the worlds that we enter into, not only through the works themselves, but through the videos sometimes that are made about the work. So that definitely, like, that extra glitch at the end just pulls me in and makes me want to go dig into that a little bit more. The universe is a lonely place, and again, this is a longer video, and so I won't play the whole thing, but give you an introduction. We were talking a little bit earlier about in the unconference about how our students are perhaps experiencing a little bit of existential dread earlier than perhaps earlier generations did. And I think sometimes we can see that reflected in their work. And I laugh as I speak of that, but I think there's definitely a tone to some of our students' work that sort of tell us how the world is going at the moment for them. And I think it's important that we listen. And finally, Penrose Station from Catherine Yu.
It is my understanding that they felt no pain. You killed them! You murdered them!
Hello, Parker. I only wish to welcome you to Penrose Station, your new home away from home during your assignment. I am this ship's deterministic autonomous neural network interface. Please call me Danny. Parker?
Do you understand what you've done? Do you even get it? There's no coming back from this, Danny.
All right. So those are our finalists, our short list for the Writing Magazine Student Award. And I want to thank all of you and also just express that all of these are wonderful works. They're very worthy of awards all and of themselves, but we are in the business of picking a winner. I would like to announce that the winner of the New Media Writing Prize, I apologize, I can't show, I can at least, perhaps I can give a little bit of, let's see if I can play a little bit of Michaela's, I would have liked the Stillness of the Night, see if it will play on, ooh, it's a download, I'm afraid I don't have it already downloaded. But it is available on the New Media Writing Prize site, and It's all right, Michaela. We very much enjoyed your work, the judges did, and feel free to submit a video whenever you like, and we will add it to the site, and it will be there available for everyone after that. So the winner of the Writing Magazine category for student prize is indeed, mini drum roll, Catherine Yu for Penrose Station. So Catherine, I think Catherine's here, yes?
Hi.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't really know what to do now. I guess I should just say thank you so much to my team. This was a small team of graduate students at USC Games, and I worked very closely with some amazing professors, and yeah, I also was supported by my parents and my husband. This was a 18-month thesis project for my Master of Fine Arts. So trying to weave together a lot of things I was interested in. So it's a little bit walking simulator, a little bit escape room, obviously in virtual reality, but I'm also interested in the moral and ethical questions around the use of artificial intelligence to kind of bounce off some of the discussion we've been having so far. But I just really wanted to examine a small piece of that, which is known as the alignment problem. It's kind of like, Sorcerer's Apprentice. These machines, these computers are only as good as the programs that we tell them to execute. So what happens when you try to break like Asimov's laws? What happens if one AI is trying to save a human and has to hurt a human in order to save that first human? So that's all kind of embedded in there. I also wanted it to be an exploration about queer people of color. So the entire voice cast is very diverse. We're all of marginalized genders. It's a majority POC and female team working on more the crew side. And the two main characters, one is non-binary, one is female. They're in this relationship. And it also explores, I know it's a lot, it explores domestic violence from the sense of not necessarily physical violence, but emotional violence, gaslighting, manipulation, and then what happens when a victim tries to like blame themselves. And I wanted to make sure that it was subtle, not necessarily like overt. And as I was kind of sharing the script around and getting people's feedback, I wanted to make sure that I had a friend of mine who's a psychologist who works in trauma and PTSD to look at it, to make sure that I was telling a story that was nuanced, that was balanced. And I wanted the two main characters to be of mixed Asian descent, but to not have the story about them being Asian. And so that's why it has this like very dark science fiction kind of dystopian undertone. So yeah, long process, but very supported by my cohort, fellow students, my professors and advisors, and a lot of friends and family who helped me along the way, as well as some support from Oculus Launchpad.
Great. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. And well done.
Thank you.
Excellent
Thank you so
work.
much. And of course, just wonderful group of like you were saying, we had, platformers and things that were ARGs and things that use social media. Like this field is just so interesting and nuanced and diverse. And I'm so glad that these prizes exist,
Excellent. Well, we will make sure that they continue to exist to recognize the work from so many fabulous artists like yourself. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. We are moving on to our next category, and I'm going to turn over the platform to Brad Giori, who is one of our judges in the FIPP Media Journalism Prize for New Media Writing in Journalism. Brad?
Thanks, Lyle. So this is the 6th year we've done this category, and each year it's evolving more and more. And one of the things that's really enjoyable about it is seeing how this form of journalism is really taking on its own shape. It's becoming a very specific type of animal. There's something about telling stories in this way that allows for so much depth, so much immersion. You can actually place the audience inside the story. And so every year we seem to be getting better and better, more immersive, experiential works of journalism. And this year we really had a bumper crop, which made it a difficult but enjoyable task to sort of look through everything. We were able to narrow it down to some key topics. Now let's see here if it will allow me. Yes, to share my screen here. Let's see. Okay, I have to open system preferences to allow to share my screen. Give me one moment here. Oh, it's asking me to leave the meeting. I don't know if that's a good idea. Lyle, would you be able to show the videos through yours? Would that be possible?
Sure. Let me.
2 of them are available on the website. The other one, we might just go to it and navigate around in it a little bit.
Okay.
I've written a little blurb about each one of these as well. Okay, so which one did you want to do first? We could do Hidden Away first if you like. We'll just go from right to left. All right.
Hi, my name is Rafaela Cortes. I'm a freelance journalist from Portugal, and I spent most of 2021 and also the beginning of 2022 working on this investigation with Divergent called Hidden Away, These Women Also Made the Revolution. The story of the Portuguese Revolution, or the Carnation Revolution as we commonly call it, of April of 1974 is mainly told through men. You know, we hear a lot about the captains who marched against the regime, the revolutionaries, the songwriters, and yet if it was possible to overthrow the regime, it was also thanks to these women that we barely hear about. This investigation focuses specifically on this group of women who joined an undercover network during the dictatorship, and where they basically had to leave everything behind, their families, their homes, even their own identities. And many of them lived years or even decades in a constant fear of being discovered and arrested and tortured and even killed. And we wanted to bring those stories to life, so we decided to use a mix of audio and animations and illustrations and many documents and photographs from both national and personal archives. We also decided to map out the houses where they lived, and through sorting many documents and books and interviews, we managed to find 90 addresses. And so we created this map on the homepage where people can go and interact with it and learn more about the lives of these women. That's it. We hope you like our work, and thank you very much.
So as you can hear, even though this is a work of documentary journalism, it's very relevant to what's happening today, as we're seeing around the world, and even in Portugal, a lot of swings to sort of far-right groups asserting themselves. And so this is such an important thing to celebrate, people who push back against fascism, these brave women that are really highlighted by this piece. This is the blurb that we wrote as judges. This interactive journalistic documentary introduces us to some of the unsung female heroes of Portugal's anti-fascist resistance. The profiles of these brave women are impressive, and the artwork and animations are dynamic complements of these powerful stories, an immersive exploration of a little-known part of Portugal's tumultuous political history. Highly impressive. And you could tell from the video how much deep content isn't there and how much research went into the piece. So definitely, please have a look. And then, Lyle, if you don't mind, I guess we could do Stalag 352. So it's not subtitled in English, but this is taking us to a prisoner of war camp from World War II that had Russian prisoners in it. And it's about the trauma that these people suffered in this brutal circumstance they found themselves in. It's an incredibly immersive video. There's so much content here. This is this is what I wrote about it. A stunning work of interactive documentary journalism, meticulously researched and designed with both sensitivity and inventive flair. Although the topic it explores is harrowing, the project itself is strikingly beautiful. Still pictures are animated and overlaid with flickering images that bring these static images to life. The sheer amount of artfully crafted content is staggering, a perfect complement to the incredible suffering and loss of life this piece so movingly reports. This is more than just a compelling and well-structured work of new media journalism. It's also an artistic tour de force, highly commended. And then the last one we don't have a video for, but would we be okay to just navigate around a little bit? Okay, you can see it's immediately, there's visually really compelling. This is about in Egypt, a plant that was giving off polluted electricity. The artwork in this is really beautiful. They actually, it features all sorts of original drawings and deep content. And this is what we wrote about it. Drawing on tropes from sci-fi and horror, this project creates a spooky atmosphere which provides an effective backdrop for this powerful topic. The illustrations also bring in effective pop culture tropes drawn from comics and graphic novels, enhancing the impact of the piece. Videos, animations, and infographics also embellish the project. The topic has been extensively researched. This project features a great deal of content and has been extensively, there is a clear public awareness benefit to this journalism. All right. There we go. So those are our 3 shortlisted pieces. And I feel like I should vamp and stretch it out like Lyle did. She milked it so well. your showmanship is outshining mine. Okay, so I'll just do the little mini drum roll and announce the winner is Stalag 352. Cheers.
Do we have any of the creators from this work here? Nope.
Okay.
Well, congratulations to, oh, I see there's a comment. I can't talk right now, but want to say that the team is very happy and
great.
Thank you for such a great opportunity. So congratulations to the Glagol Media Lab team for their production of this work. I will point out that even though the video was in Russian, there is an English translation you could see on the video where you can click English. So it's still complying with the Media Writing Prize need to be in English, because that's how we all of us work in English, and it is a UK prize. But congratulations to Glagol, and thank you for your submission. It was really I think I even went through this a little bit, and it is very stark and meaningful. So thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda, I'm afraid that you are going to have to put up with me again for a few more minutes as I present the winner of the opening up category. The opening up category is something that this is in its 2nd year with the New Media Writing Prize, although it existed on its own for a couple of years prior to joining the New Media Prize. This prize originated from an AHRC, Arts and Humanities Research Council, which is a research council here in the UK, funded project on reading digital fiction. And the entire purpose of this project was to explore how we could get more people reading digital fiction, aware of digital fiction and electronic literature and digital literature. So it was all about, we met with reading groups, we taught workshops, we did gallery exhibits. This was a project led by Astrid Enslin and Alice Bell, and I was just a mere peon on this project, but I did help run the competition side of it, and I have continued to sort of push this side. The Opening Up Prize, unlike the other categories in the New Media Writing Prize, is judged by you, the people. So we open it up to voting online. So it is a selection of long listed entries for the New Media Writing main prize, as well as the student submissions, which we consider for the main prize as well. And we open it up to voting, and I push everyone on social media and on the mailing list to vote for their favorite. And we really have no control over who wins, and that I think is very exciting, because it means that the work that gets the most vote is the one that wins. It's the popular vote. Yay. So I'm going to share screen again and show you I'm going to call it a short list, but basically I just sort of made a list of the top vote getters in the prize. Let's see, is this our, yes, this is our short list. Okay. Oh no, I have it somewhere else. Let's see, the voting only closed Sunday evening. So we like to keep it going. In as much, sorry, I've got different lists in different places, so I'm a little bit scatterbrained, as you saw from all of that coffee that I have had since the beginning of the day. So let me share screen again. Part of the problem is, as everyone experiences, Zoom covers up the top of your browser, and so you can't see what's happening. Here we go. Okay, so the many occasions of moving was one of the entries that received a number of votes in this category, and this is from Jason Nelson. So it's a work of Jason Nelson's digital poetry, and I think that if you're not familiar with Jason Nelson's work, it is worthwhile looking into his oeuvre, because there is a great many things of this sort within. Another work that received a number of entries was Child of Empire, which was submitted by Omi Zulagupta, and who lives and works between the UK and India. So I think it's fantastic that we're starting to get a lot of different submissions from all over the world, and that they are getting recognition for the work that they're doing, even if they're not something that we have as academics in electronic literature sort of considered as the sort of more literary, which is what I love about the New Media Writing Prize. Under the Surface, which we saw the video for earlier in the student category, was one of the finalists in the Opening Up Prize. So you can see that this one struck a chord as well. And Beneath the Veil, which is a work submitted by Kuda Rice from Zimbabwe. So I'm delighted that we have such a variety of works that that got recognition in this category, and that garnered so much attention for the Opening Up Prize, and that there's such a variety of media, that there is not just this focus on hypertext or flash fiction, that we're seeing stuff that is video based and social media based and things like that. So without much further ado, apparently I make a big production out of announcing who won each category. But the winner of the opening up prize, I am delighted to announce, is Child of Empire from Omi Zola Gupta. Is Omi Zola Gupta here? Congratulations. I don't know if our creator is here. It doesn't look like it. But congratulations virtually through YouTube and email, which is how I will communicate to you that you are the winner. I hope everyone goes and checks out Child of Empire because it is quite clearly very popular. So well done for that work, and yay, congratulations. All right, so massive drum roll and for the final prize, and this is the Chris Meade Memorial Prize. We have officially renamed the category. Chris Meade sponsored this prize, and in large part, along with Jim Pope, is the reason that the New Media Writing Prize exists, in that he sponsored this category from the very beginning. Yes, Jim, I believe. Yeah, so he sponsored this prize from the very beginning. Sadly passed away last year just before the awards evening, but has continued to make sure that this prize will live on in his memory, and so we will be continually and forever grateful to Chris Meade for what he has done for new media writing and for exposing so many new artists and audiences and academics and kids and students and everyone else and in between to the wonders of creating narrative and stories and experiences in new media. So the Chris Meade Memorial Prize is going to be presented by last year's winner, Joannes Truyens. So Joannes, please take over. It is your platform now, but I will share screen and under your direction.
Thank you again, Lyle. I think we have videos for some of the entries, so I thought the plan was to show those, and for the ones that we don't have a video for, I have a bit of a explainer. So which are the ones that we have video for?
Let me badly navigate back to where I was. All right. We have 3 videos for Love, Dolphins in the Reservoir, and Anonymous Animal. I can start with Love.
Okay.
In case number 23, the method detective is asked by a client to find love for all humankind. Channeling one of his favorite movie heroes, Wonder Woman, he searches the internet and then the city streets to crack the case. Will he find love, the abstract thing with no shape or form, the unknowable in every way? And if he doesn't, will he still get paid? For the method detective, it's not really the case that matters. It's the dream of channeling his favorite fictional heroes to escape a home life that never measures up to his imagination.
I have some of the judges' comments on this project, if they're all right with me sharing those. Some of the things that were said about this project were the story was sweet and the interactivity enhanced both the comedy and the narrative, and it was considered fast-moving, very readable, nice media elements, and strong narrative structure, and that the interactivity actually mattered. What's the next one we have a video for? Dolphins in the Reservoir?
Yes, this is Will Lewis, Hazel Smith, and Roger Dean. Love was from Alan Bigelow.
So for Dolphins in the Reservoir, some of the judges' comments mentioned that this project achieved what it set out to do. They all enjoyed moving things around, piling the images on top of each other, switching the order of texts to change the narrative, and the sound design was appropriately disturbing. I think we also have a video for Anonymous Animal. Yes.
Anonymous Animal is a 15-minute-long browser poem that uses the somewhat outdated and rather unstable web technology of iframes to guide visitors on a collective walk together on the internet. Loading and unloading pages on a synced clock, Anonymous Animal navigates through links, images, wikis, and live streams. It's an elegy for the era of cross-origin browser requests and off-site embeddable media, a remembrance for websites as collaborative messes, hosted piecemeal, connected elaborately together through hot links, always on the edge of breaking. It's also a meditation on still being quietly online together. Being on the internet is an obfuscated social experience. If there's co-presence while browsing at all, it's only telegraphed through presence information, generally on social media sites with an Online Now badge. But being online, even deep in Wikipedia in the middle of the night, is not exactly being alone, even if the specifics are hidden. Information exchange at massive scale, person to person, as well as person to server, is what holds it all up. We touch one another here too. Anonymous Animal runs every hour on the hour. It asks you to invite a friend along, but even if you don't, someone else is probably there already, being in the same place, watching the same things, loading the same pages, making the same motions, wondering about you. You can ask someone to meet you there to take a walk on the internet together.
And so for this project, some of the judges' comments were evocative, supremely clever from the get-go, a clever way to focus audience attention and build anticipation, executed flawlessly and with perfectly real interaction and engagement. And then for the other two projects that don't have a video, I have a bit of a short explainer and also some of the comments. Shall we put up In Search of Lost Scroll? In Search of Lost Scroll is an interactive digital experience for one or many participants. It is both a work of speculative fiction and personal creative nonfiction. It paints a subtly dystopian data future in which a chatbot version of the author, long since dead in this future, requests that it be killed. The work uses website and UX design as a narrative tool for the chatbot's journey and to viscerally explore the idea of changing digital space as participants scroll and move differently from page to page. They can have unscripted conversations with the chatbot with no two experiences of the journey being the same. This work was prompted by the author's interest and personal experience of the change in the feeling of the online self as tech monopolies have increasingly shaped digital realms into their own malls. And some of the judges' comments on this were that it was strange and unsettling in a really great way, and stayed with this for quite a while, having a weird conversation with the suicidal bot. And the last project is 500,000 Mothers. This is a generative poem that generates random mothers for those whose assigned mother is faulty or unreliable. It is an exploration of what motherhood has meant to the author throughout their life, using cut-up and randomization to decontextualize and recontextualize the family, friends, mentors, and pets that have raised them. Each new mother is configured from 112 microprose poems the author wrote about specific people who have mothered them in some way. Each micropoem was designed to be recombined with 3 other randomized micropoems to make a whole. The result is that each mother generated is 1 out of 614,656 possible combinations. And some of the comments on this were that the generative form works incredibly well, and the themes and writing are brilliantly evocative, a clever, well-written and effective use of tech to produce poetry that actually feels meaningful, and that this has no right to be so compelling, and yet it is. The writing is just so good and feels like there's a meta story bubbling just below the surface about the impossibility of being a mother or a child. And that's the 5 shortlists for the main prize. So I'll announce the winner and then quickly relate some of my own feedback and that of the other judges. So without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to announce that this year's winner of the Chris Meade Memorial Main Prize is Anonymous Animal by Everest Pipkin. Congratulations.
Yay! Everest, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. I'd love that. It's an honor to be shortlisted for this prize, much less to receive this award. And it's really been an absolute pleasure these last few days to play and read and experience all of the other works with which Anonymous Animal is shortlisted. I feel really honored to be counted among their number. In the past, I've described Anonymous Animal as a kind of elegy, one to a different kind of internet that was more trusting, if less secure. I miss that internet hosted hodgepodge, that one constructed messily. And if I let myself daydream, I can imagine an internet of now that kind of allowed this idea of the hyperlink to truly develop into its full capacity, one where hot linking really remained that connective tissue of a web truly grown together, where servers were hosted in bedrooms and where we could still see each other transparently through the actual methodology of its making and construction. And an elegy is a mourning, but seeing my elegy set amongst all of these works, I'm reminded that there's other far stronger types of connective structures than those of technological underpinnings, those of community, those of creative friendships and collaborations, those of neighbors, both together in space and together in labor, who are working towards a world in which we are actually less isolated, less beholden to platform capitalism, where we've not just more tools, but the right tools, tools with an inbuilt ideology for the better world that they actually seek to build. I keep sheep. I woke up this morning to a pair of newborn lambs in the pasture. I was actually a few minutes late to this call because I was clipping their umbilical cords and dipping their navels in iodine. And that's a pair of anonymous animals if I've ever met them. But it's through those coming years of care and labor that those lambs and I will learn to know one another, where we'll find out together how to actually interact with each other transparently, even through the distance of species. And such a gap makes the distance of simple distance seem suddenly less absolute here in this space together, where we're present with one another and showing up for one another to celebrate that presence. At that internet that is better than the one that we have, it feels not just possible, but in some way, big or small, inevitable. So it's truly an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you so much.
Massive congratulations from one New Mexican to another. Kudos on your win and congratulations. It was a delight to see your work, and it's a delight to see all of the works. I think these it's been an astounding year for the New Media Writing Prize, for the Unconference, for everyone involved in the field of digital literature and electronic literature and digital journalism. Thank you so much to all of our judges. That includes those of you who are here, those of you who aren't here, our judges for the main prize, Mez Breeze, Linda Clark, Lisa G, Joannes Truyens, Jim Pope, and Andy Campbell. Thank you for the journalism judges, Brad Giori, Kenneth Sanchez, Dahlia Elsheik, our student judges, Andy Campbell and Lisa G, our unconference keynote and non-committee member, Deena Larsen, our non-committee tech lead, Ken Alba, who had some work emergencies and was unable to be with us. Thank you for being here, Hattie. It's fantastic to see you here. Apologies that I didn't see you on the participants list. Feel free to pop up if you'd like to say a word, but you don't have to at all. And thank you to all of our prize entrants. It was, as I said, it was an enormous year. Hi, Hattie. Hi. Do you want to say a word? You're muted.
Hey, everyone. It's really, hi, it's so great to be here. It's so lovely. I have such fond memories of coming to the prize to the Miramar Hotel to Bournemouth every year with Chris, and he just loved it. I mean, he really, and he was such a creative spirit. I mean, he is still a creative spirit and quirky, and yeah, no, he would have really, really loved this evening, and I think I did too. And so, and his very good friend Bill is here too. So thank you, everyone. It's been really wonderful.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to see both of you. I'm sorry we won't be able to get together in person next week, but we will soon.
Yeah, we will.
And thank you for continuing to support the prize.
Oh, great pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you to, as I said, to all of the entrants into the New Media Writing Prize. We had a huge year this year, and it's making us have to think about how we do our judging and how we go through all of the works, because it's a wonderful problem to have too many amazing works to look at. It gets harder and harder to award just one or five, as the categories may be, prizes every year. So it's worthwhile if you have a chance. The opening up prize, the opening up page on the New Media Writing Prize website does show you the entire long list for the main prize. So it's worth going and perusing the works that are there, because there are some fantastic works across the board. And thank you to all of the unconferencers, the presenters and workshop leaders and participants and attendees and discussion panelists and everyone who was thoughtful and posted in the chat and did NetProv and threw out crazy creative suggestions and prompted stories. It's been a wonderful 2 days. This has been the best 2 days of the year so far. And may they continue to be the best 2 days of the year until next year. Thank you all for coming. And if you're not on the New Media Writing Prize mailing list, feel free to send me an email at newmediaprize@gmail.com, and I will put you on so that you can hear all about the prize and the unconference next year. And that wraps us up. Congratulations to all our winners, and thank you all for coming.
Brilliant, well done, fantastic.
All right.
And of course, a huge thank you to Lyle as well. Well, without you, this would just never have happened. So thank you for bringing this into existence.
And Deena, without you, the world would fall apart, clearly.
Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you to everyone. Drive safe going home. I hope you haven't imbibed too much. And hug your loved ones and mask up when you go in public. Nobody wants COVID again, least of all me. And have a wonderful year. And continue to send me bizarre internet things. You know how I love bizarre internet things. Take care, all.
Thank you, Lyle. Wonderful. See you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Lyle. I've saved the chat. I've saved the transcript. We should be good. Thank you so much for the